Hello, everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right. This week, we have a surprise guest, don't we?
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's a surprise, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's our old buddy Bob Myers. Poor Carrie.
Impromptu guest, I think that's what it is. Impromptu.
Yeah, I guess it's a surprise. We weren't planning for him to be here. Like at the end of last week's show, we didn't say he was going to be on. So yeah, it's a surprise. Bob, hey, it's Bob. Now, Bob, is this your 6th appearance on the show?
I think this is 6, which is why I reached out to you. I don't want to get in the way of the jank Miles Watson, feud. I'll stay in the wake. I'm good there.
Yeah, they were getting a lead though. I think they're up to 7. So now you're still one behind.
No, I'll ride behind them. I'm fine. I don't need to be the victor here.
All right. Well, this week for the big show, we're going to do Elektra Assassin, issue 1 from 1986, written by Frank Miller and painted by Bill Sienkiewicz.
That's right.
Painted. So, very excited about this. Now, Bob, you and I were planning on doing another issue at some point here coming up, but when you heard we were doing Electra, you said you volunteered to come on the show. You wanted to come on. Now, so are you a big fan of Elektra Assassin, the character Electra, or what's your history with Electra?
I'd actually never read Elektra Assassin until, I've now read it. I read it this week. But I'm a big fan of Frank Miller, obviously. I love Daredevil. I love his Daredevil run where Electra was introduced, so I was very excited about this. And Bill Sienkiewicz, we'll get into my thoughts on Bill Sienkiewicz, obviously, but yeah, so this was a thing I'd been wanting to read. I was able to walk over to my bookshelf and grab this. I've got the trade paperback from like 88 when this was originally released.
Nice.
So you're like Mike L. You have these things, but you never read them. You had the trade paperback.
It's not that I never read them. I have 2 bookshelves. I would say 1.25 of them I've read. 1/3 of them I haven't read of books and comics. So I'm one of these guys who I want to read that, so I buy it, and then it's like at some point I get to reading them. And so this is.
You've had this Elektra Assassin trade paperback for 32 years. And now you're just...
No, that's not accurate. I've had it for, I would say, 3 or, maybe even 5 years. Maybe maybe even longer than that. But a little while. It's been on my comics shelf because I generally collect more trade paperbacks than actual comics, just because it's easier and I'm lazy. But it's been on there as a thing I want to read, and so now I finally had a reason to actually do it.
I was going to make fun of you for doing this because I was going to say, well, when I buy something, I read it. But now I just thought in my head, I actually have a trade paperback of like the Infinity Gauntlet story, like right near my bed here. And I've had that for like 5 years. I haven't read it yet.
You've never read the Infinity Gauntlet story, huh?
No.
Interesting.
No.
Huh.
Well, for example, not to kiss any ass here, but I have an Honest John Churchfield book that I haven't read yet. I have it. I read the first one, but I haven't read the actual novel yet.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Bob. Once I get your money, I don't care if you read it.
That's
so thank you.
What I figured, so I have it.
Either way, I appreciate it. But Mike L., have you ever read Elektra Assassin?
Funny you should ask. I believe I had number 1 for 32 years. I don't think I ever read it. I think I just sold it because I didn't have the whole series. So I figured, what's the point of just reading number 1? So I got rid of it. But the thing is I'm a huge fan of Frank Miller. Well, his old stuff. Like,
yes.
Born Again is like my favorite Marvel story probably ever.
Yep. Same with me. Yep.
Yeah. Like, I've only read sporadic issues of his first run. But then after that,
it's all good.
It gets sketchy. Like with Sin City and Martha Washington, it gets sketchy, and then he goes downhill after that. So, yeah,
I'm right there with you. Early Frank Miller is awesome. I'm a big fan of early Frank Miller, art and writing. Right. And then things go. But how about this though, Mike? I had also never read Elektra Assassin until now, and I love Electra. She's like my favorite lady in all comic books. You got like Electra, Scarlet Witch, and Virginia Vision, the Ribbit Lady Vision. I love. But I want to make sweet, sweet love to that Ribbit. But other than that, Electra's always number 1. So I'm glad that we're reading Elektra Assassin here today. But hey, Mike, we often say on the show that 1986 may have been the best year in all of comics. But how about this for Frank Miller in 1986? He not only did he do Elektra Assassin, he did a Daredevil Love and War graphic novel with Bill Sienkiewicz. That was awesome. He also did the whole Born Again arc was in 1986. And he did something called Dark Knight Returns, which I never heard of.
Right.
Those were all 86?
All in 1986.
Wow.
How about, is that the greatest year any comic book author has ever had? Like one single year?
That's a pretty good year, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to top. So,
wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, all right, Elektra Assassin. Well, I guess we should get some background on the Electra for the kids who don't know anything about Electra. Her real name is Elektra Nachios, not Nachos, Nachios. Make that distinction.
They are Greek nachos, I believe.
That's right. She's Greek. And her first appearance was Daredevil 168 in 1981, which, by the way, I happen to own that comic because it was just a random comic I had when I was a little kid, and I've had it all these years.
Wow.
I just happened to buy it. Yeah. So Daredevil 168, and she was created by Frank Miller, and she was he based her appearance on bodybuilder Lisa Lyon. How about that?
I'll have to look this person up.
Oh, yeah, you're going to want to look her up. I would say body-wise, the body Electra is more than face a little bit, but the body, yeah, you can definitely see some. Yeah. And the good thing about Lisa Lyon, not scared to take pictures without clothes. That's the other thing I like about Lisa Lyon.
Interesting.
But Electra was meant to be a one-off appearance, just in that one issue. But Miller, she was popular, so Miller kept her around, and she became a recurring character until her death in issue 181 in 1982.
Never seen again.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was it. Finish it up.
Bob, how did she die? I'm sure you remember this.
I don't remember the exact details, but I know that Mr. Bullseye took her down.
Bullseye stabbed her through the heart. Well, not through the heart, I guess, because then she didn't die immediately. But with her own sai.
With her own sai, yeah.
Yeah, like the sai. The old Michelangelo from the Turtles, right? No, Raphael. Raphael has the sai. Yeah, Raphael. Michelangelo.
Right, and that was the famous panel where it cuts through her chest, but then it doesn't cut through the fabric on her uniform and the back.
Yeah, just pushed it back. But
it's still cool, though. It's a great image.
It looks awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why Bullseye killed her was because the Kingpin had hired Electra to be his new assassin, and he gave Bullseye the boot. So Bullseye wanted to show that he was better than Electra, so he killed her. So that's the way it went. And
seems reasonable.
And then she crawled to Matt Murdock's brownstone apartment and died in his arms, right on the steps of his apartment there. Yeah. So like you said, never to be seen again. Well, not so fast, my friend. In 1986, we get the Elektra Assassin miniseries, which is we're doing today issue 1 out of 8. And this takes place before she appeared in Daredevil 168, obviously. So there, that's the timeline.
But there's more after that, right?
Yes, because then Miller also did the graphic novel Electra Lives Again in 1990.
Right.
Now, I did not know this was a thing. I was just... Bob, did you ever read this at all?
I've never read this one. I don't know how good it is.
It was written and drawn by Miller. I flipped through it last night, and... listen, I love Frank Miller's early art. When he was just the penciler on Daredevil, he was awesome. And even when he was doing the Wolverine miniseries, and even when he was writing and drawing Daredevil for a while, his art was still strong. But this art here in this graphic novel is not so good. And it's kind of like the Dark Knight. If you like the Dark Knight Batman kind of art, I guess you would like this. But I don't really like his art there either. And I don't know. It just looks ugly. And I don't know. Like, I'm not a fan.
When you say that, are you talking about like the Dark Knight Returns art?
Yes.
Because year one, I think, is different and not as bad.
No, year one is David Mazzucchelli.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Miller wrote that, but Mazzucchelli drew it. But the Dark Knight, how he's all like blocky and like.
Well, now that being said, have you seen The Dark Knight Strikes Again?
I have not.
It looks like a 5-year-old drew it. Just Google Dark Restricting and it's garbage. So
I've always heard that's not very good, so I've never actually read that.
So yeah, if you like that art, then I guess you could like this Daredevil graphic novel, the Electra graphic novel. But if you don't, I wasn't a fan, so not a big fan. So anyway, she didn't appear again until the Fall from Grace story in Daredevil 324 to 327 in 1994. I also have these, I believe. But this pissed off Frank Miller because Marvel had told him they would never use her unless he, brought, like, if he wasn't using her, they wouldn't use her. So they brought her back here without his consent. And then she went on to appear as a regular character in Wolverine for like 6 issues or something. Then she was in the Thunderbolts.
Oh, geez. That must have made Frank Miller happy.
She's also had 2 solo series and several other miniseries. So
I think we're all on the same page where we just ignore that all that happened.
Exactly. Yep.
And because I guess when she was with Wolverine, apparently she's responsible for it because Wolverine had a period where he became like all feral, like an animal. And apparently Elektra is responsible for getting him out of that.
Really?
Like she was the one who, I don't know, counseled him or whatever she did to make him more of a human again. So that's odd. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, that doesn't need to happen.
I don't want Electra being that close to anyone but Daredevil. Just stay with Daredevil. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, of course, we also got the 2 great Electra. Jennifer Garner was in the movie, the Electra movie, right?
Which we all loved.
I never saw it.
I actually never saw it either.
I love Jennifer Garner. I'm a big fan, especially back then when she was fresh off Alias and all that. But I did see some of it, and it wasn't good. It wasn't very good. But she was also in the Daredevil movie, the Ben Affleck, who was terrible as well.
Miscast. I think she was miscast.
Along with Ben Affleck.
And, exactly.
And pretty much everyone in that movie.
Yeah, everyone in the entire film. You're right.
And then recently we got Elodie Young played Electra in the Daredevil series on Netflix, season 2, right? And she was also in Defenders as well, because that was all about bringing her back to life, Defenders, right?
And I thought that was pretty good. I don't know what your guys' opinion were, but I thought that was done very well.
I actually gave up on Defenders after a few episodes, to be honest.
Well, Defenders was fine. Mm-hmm. But I thought her in the Daredevil was very good.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, season 2 of Daredevil was really good, I thought. And she was awesome as Electra. Defenders was like a 5, out of 10, It's like a 5 or 6.
It's like, it's interesting to bring them all together, but it wasn't great.
There were huge holes in the storytelling and just problems, but otherwise. But she was great as Electra. She looked super foxy.
I enjoyed her a lot as Electra.
In fact, I only have Michael, do you own any of them damn Funko Pops? Do you own any Funko Pops?
I had like two or three, but I sold them. I had like the Kiss Hello Kitty ones.
Oh my god!
Don't ask questions. Anyway,
we'll pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, we'll just cut that out in post. I've only purchased a few Funko Pops. They're all Asuka Pops. The PW wrestler Asuka. But I have others that people give me. Like Larry gave me a few, and I've won bets with people, and Larry gave me an Electra Funko Pop. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's like the Elodie Young Netflix Electra. So anyway, there you go. Anything else about Electra we should know, Michael?
Not really. I mean,
I did read one other thing. I think later on in recent Marvel, they found out she was a Skrull for a while. Like a Skrull was pretending to be Electra.
Seriously?
Yes.
See, this is why we ignore stories that were written after 1991, right?
Yeah, this is why I do well on this podcast, because I just don't read anything post like 1990.
It's also absurd when you go back and read these characters' backstories and what they've done to them since 1990 or whatever. It's just so nonsensical.
Right.
But let's just remember Electra as who she was when Frank Miller first wrote her. back in the early 80s.
Right.
And I also saw something like sacrilegious, some blasphemous bullshit online that I guess some, I don't know what magazine this was, Comic Writer Buyer's Guide or something, Marketplace. I don't know what it was. But they listed like the top 100 hottest female characters in comics, and Elektra was only 22nd.
Oh,
wow.
How is that possible?
Yeah, that's really absurd.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have a deep well of knowledge on comics, but I find it hard to believe that there are 21 hotter.
There are 21 hotter women than Elektra. Yeah, give me a break. That's nonsense. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole nother show.
So who's your number one? Okay, we'll talk about that later. Anyway.
Well, Elektra. Elektra's my number one. Yeah. All right, so let's get into Elektra Assassin issue 1. Dun, dun, dun.
All right. So first of all, I've, as I said, owned this cover for 32 years, and I just noticed the corner box now. But yeah, at the very top, there's, because like the actual cover, we'll get into in a second, but the cover's painted. But the corner box is just sort of like drawn closer to like a regular comic book style by Bill Sienkiewicz. And Elektra's kind of like crouching with her, she's actually holding a sword and her, what's her weapon called again?
A sai.
A sai.
S-A-I. Sai.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool corner box, though.
Yeah. It's a really stylized. Yeah.
Right. And we should point out, this is Epic Comics, which was Marvel's, semi-creator-owned line, semi-mature line from the 80s.
Yeah. Mature, because you can't be showing Elektra in that costume and have it running on normal.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be.
And this is number 1 in an 8-issue limited series. We got this cool logo, Elektra Assassin, Elektra number 1, August 86, 150, 175 in Canada.
That's right.
And,
suckers.
Yeah. And then we got this classic image of Elektra standing with her sai in one hand and this gigantic machine gun in the other with smoke coming out of it. And she's kind of like, we're getting like a side shot of her, looking all sexy. And, it's a classic image. It's really good.
Yeah, a pure white background except for the gray smoke coming out of the gun and her bright red costume, which... Bob, would you care to describe Elektra's costume for those who don't know what it looks like?
I don't even know how I would describe it. Skimpy, I guess, would be a good start.
I guess it's kind of like a one-piece red bathing suit.
Yeah, it's a one-piece, but with a do-rag and really high, thigh-high stockings.
Yeah, red gloves. Everything's in red. And also the costume has like... instead of like a bathing suit cut at the bottom, it has like a piece of cloth hanging between her legs and behind her between her legs
for modesty.
Yes.
Right.
But it looks really good. And by the way, like Bob, you said you read the entire series?
Yes.
See, I've only read the first 2 issues so far, but I intend to read the whole thing. But at the end of issue 2, there's a panel where she's holding a big giant gun like that as well. So, yeah, but it's a great cover. So
yeah, it's
Bill
classic.
Sienkiewicz.
Absolutely.
All right, Michael. So let's look at the first page.
So we jump in here to this black and white sort of drawing of
drawing.
Yeah. Oh, this is like, I think this is supposed to be a what is this supposed to be? Like a torture thing?
Well, I think it's like a mental asylum, like the electric shock machine and stuff, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we see this little clip of an article: mystery woman survives drowning, kills 2, and then chapter 1, Hell and Back.
Yeah, and we should say it takes place in San Concepcion, South America, is where the killings took place.
Which I believe is not a real place, I assume, right?
I believe you're correct. Yeah, I don't think that is, but who knows? I don't know.
And so we get this nice, shot of like a little sailboat, like a tropical island. This is all painted artwork, by the way. And then we get some narration from Elektra. And we're not really sure what's going on yet, but she's narrating herself. Basically before she was born, inside her mother's, stomach. And her thoughts are jumping around between things. And she's basically describing the feeling of being inside her mother's stomach while her mother's in a boat, and her father, and then her father. Oh, geez, what happens here?
Well, there's an assassination attempt on her father.
So basically, it's like the artwork is almost childlike. It's a combination of like good artwork with a little bit of like kids' innocence thrown in, and then we see shots of like tropical trees, and then we see a helicopter, and then she's basically describing what's happening, but then it cuts to the next page, and we see that she's being tortured in this like insane asylum. So she's being electrocuted.
Let's not jump over the dialogue of the helicopter where it just says egg beater over and over again, which I thought was really quite nice.
Yeah, because she's like you said, it's kind of like a child's memory of this. So she just, even though she wasn't born yet, but she just sees it as an egg beater in the sky, So
right. So this is basically, it's almost like surreal, right? Like this is like her memory, but it didn't really happen. And, she's basically trying to focus on good memories because she's being tortured in the present. So that's like a flashback, obviously.
Yeah.
And so it cuts to the present where she's being tortured in this insane asylum. And she's describing the guy that's torturing her, greasy man, the fat greasy man with their fat greasy loud machines, the punishing machines. And then it also cuts, now in her memory, it cuts back to this assassination. We see her father getting a shot, and she's like, the gun spits, Papa feels it like the punch of a fist, and they fire, and this is like a cool little detail, and they fire again like a dozen icicles through his chest. The blood froths and gurgles, he tastes it and breathes it. No, I must not change it. He is shot once, then he sits and looks stupid. He is not shot again. And so we see this, this is like, again, for the listeners, this is not typical comic book art. This is painted, sort of abstract art from Bill Sienkiewicz. And we see this guy...
Watercolors he used.
Yeah, all watercolors, right. And
this is very Bill Sienkiewicz art right here.
Right. And so this guy gets shot, and then she's like, that's how it happens. Mother is not quite cut in two. So she's describing how her mother also got shot. And then she's basically, now this is all before she was born, so she's still in the womb. And then she kind of alludes to, is it here where she talks about what happens after that? No, not yet.
No.
Yeah, she's like, her death rattle screams, or her death rattle fades as I scream. He swears I will always be safe. So we see this image of this guy. And then we cut to the exterior, or no, I guess this is an interior of this insane asylum. Yeah. And basically she's sort of alluding to details of what is going on, which it took me a while to figure out what was happening. But anyway.
Well, we should mention, by the way, her father is like the Greek ambassador to the United States, and he was a big famous dude.
Right.
So.
And so yeah, she's like, and she keeps talking about the globes, which I never figured out what that was. They
were just her memories. They were her memories.
Okay.
So she's trying to focus on the
globes
good ones.
Hold all the memories that have survived the burnings. They are every color and black. To see the memories, I slow the spinning. Mostly they're dull and dead, but the sparks, each one is a shining place. So yeah, she's basically in this insane asylum trying to stay sane. And then we see... Oh yeah, so then she's sort of like constructing memories of her father that she never had. Like her father putting her to... Isn't it?
Well, when you say that, what do you mean, a father she never had?
Well, this is... Oh, so this is her father figure, the guy who like adopted her?
No, her father survived.
Oh, see,
right?
Okay, I thought he was dead and someone else became her father. Like her adopted father, okay.
I don't think, right, Bob? Her dad survived that assassination attempt, right?
It's hard to tell. That's the impression I get, is that her father survived, but yeah, it is definitely hard to understand.
Yeah, from reading this, you think, oh yeah, that guy's definitely dead. But I think, like, from my history of reading Daredevil, her father survived. And then,
I mean, whoever this guy is definitely Mr. Nachios, and has definitely been her father.
Yeah,
I think this is implying that he survived the assassination attempt, but it's definitely not clear.
Yeah.
See, I looked this up like a summary, and it says her mother's assassinated, and then it says, oh. See, it says her father's assassination, but maybe that's later.
Yeah, her father gets killed.
Her father was assassinated. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, her father gets killed in Daredevil 168, and there's a flashback.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Okay. So this is
that's what I mean. Like, yeah, I think he survives, even though it looks like. But again, this is like the art like is a child, painting it, so it makes it look like really he's slaughtered. But I think he survives.
Right.
And without spoiling too much, because I know Mike Dell hasn't read it, but not entirely understanding what's going on is a theme throughout this whole run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's issue 2 has a lot of that. Yeah. But yeah, so she's having these memories about her childhood with her dad because the mom's dead, and apparently she has a memory that her dad molested her, and yeah.
Is it her dad? I thought it was the guy.
Which I think is covered as she made it up memory, or maybe a false memory, I think.
Yes, that has also been, I did read that later becomes out like it's a false memory or something. I don't know. But yeah, Michael, that guy's her dad. The guy with the mustache and with the tear in his eye and everything. That's her dad. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then she's like, oh yeah, she'll see again. She's fighting. I'm not in this place. I am on a sunny island. I am not crushed against cold great bodies. I am alone with Papa, sitting on his knees, 6 years old. There is no fat pig of a man. So yeah, she's struggling here. But in the present, we see her getting hosed down with all these other women. We see the guy, spraying the water on her. And, she's, trying to stay sane by having these good memories. We see a shot of them all sitting, eating at this table.
Yeah, and by the way, let me just cut in here. When we see her in the insane asylum, everything's grays, blacks, and whites. Mm-hmm. And then her memories are all really brightly colored.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like when she's in bed, it's all like blue and pink, and then she's on kind of like building a sandcastle, and then she's picking oranges, and it's all nice. And then now we cut to this is her sensei.
The good stuff.
Right. Yeah. So now it's like orange and blue, and she's being trained by the sensei. And
when Electra was a little girl, she trained in martial arts extensively.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, we see her getting trained by this guy, and then I don't know if this is alluding to something, but she's like, I know all the names. They are so simple. They fit together like chess pieces. Star, shaft, flame. Now, are these?
This is you don't know who these people are?
No.
Come on, Michael. I'm going to take away your license to be my comic book hero.
I think that's appropriate. I'm going to.
I've only read Daredevil Born Again. I only read pieces.
Bob, tell them who these names are.
These are the Chaste.
I know who that is.
These are Stick.
It means nothing to me.
Stick.
This is Stick and his, I don't know, you'd call him henchmen.
Okay.
Disciples. I don't know exactly what his relationship is to them, but
see. Yeah. When after Electra, she trained in martial arts when she was a little kid with that one sensei we saw there. But then later, after her father died with Matt Murdock at Columbia University, do you remember all this, Michael? He got assassinated there. And
pieces of it.
Was she left Matt Murdock in the United States because she had she said she wasn't part of this world, and then she went to go train with Stick because she was so angry at the world. And he tried to bring her in and calm her down and show her the true ways of being, a martial artist and a ninja and whatnot. But she was she had too much violence in her, too much anger.
Gotcha.
So he eventually told her to hit the bricks. But his, like Bob was saying, his buddies there, they all have names like the Shaft and Flame and Star and Stone and Claw and Wing. Yeah.
Cool.
Those are their names.
Stone, Stick. Cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe you don't even know who Stone is.
No.
You clearly need to read more Daredevil.
Come on,
None of them. No, what's funny is I've read every single Anno Senti Daredevil. I've read obviously Born Again. I've read the Brubaker run, but I've never been able to go back and read all the Frank Miller Daredevil yet, but I will. I've also read
there's like 20 issues. Just knock it out.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I don't think you understand how many comic books I own and how many comic books.
I'm sorry. You could skip a few weeks of reading old Superman comics and read some Daredevil.
I have about 2,000 comics I haven't read yet, so it's tough.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, well, Frank Miller's Daredevil. It's not like highly acclaimed or anything. It's just kind of average. So you can push it back a ways, I guess.
One day. Don't worry, it's in the queue.
So yeah, her memories are her now that she's remembering training with Stick, and Stick was kind of a dick to her and being a little rough on her.
Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes off as a total dick.
He's known for that. That's kind of Stick's personality. He's just a jackass.
But there's one line. I'm going to find it real quick. Stick is a noble warrior and a saint who talks with ugly words. And I thought that was a perfect description of Stick. He's an asshole, but he cares.
He has great moral character, but he's an asshole. Yeah, so... But then it's basically just the rough time she had training with Stick, and then we cut back to the insane asylum, just her and a bunch of naked ladies sleeping.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's why we got the mature...
Right.
Actually, they don't even see mature readers, do they?
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think they do, but that's okay.
No, but this was, I think... This was released in, I think this was direct sales, so
right.
Like it wasn't on.
Yeah, we should. I meant to make that distinction as well because they were going to have trouble getting this comic coded or whatever.
Right.
So they put it on Epic, and Epic wasn't sold on newsstands, just in comic shops.
Right.
Direct market. So,
and it's funny that yes, they're all naked, but let's also point out they don't have blankets, even though they're sleeping.
Yeah,
none of them are.
This is a really poorly funded asylum where they can't afford underwear or blankets.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it just shows you how terrible the situation is.
Right.
She's in, you know?
That's why
clearly. I mean, this is El Concepcion. I mean, things are tough down there.
San Concepcion, to correct
San
you.
Concepcion, I'm sorry.
And by the way, I looked it up. There is no San Concepcion, but there's a Concepcion chili, but no San Concepcion, so I don't know.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know if it's interesting, but
So anyway, so then, so what happens? So then she just
she's back with Stick. She's remembering Stick.
Right.
And Stick basically tells her to hit the bricks.
Right.
Because,
So she's
as
like,
Stick
I'm out
is
of
wont
here.
to do.
Actually, I should point out that this artwork looks more like late period Frank Miller than Bill Sienkiewicz. It makes me think that Frank Miller was influenced by this period of Bill Sienkiewicz.
Well, I don't know if you could call it a period. It's 2 pages. I mean, I don't know if you could call it a period.
What I'm saying, though, is
but,
this artwork does not look like New Mutants at all.
Yeah, he's doing like a different style in every memory she has.
And without getting into all of it, that's kind of what I appreciate about all this is he does a lot of different things. In this series,
pretty spectacular. Yeah.
So yeah, she's out of there, and then we cut back to the present, and then we cut back to the past, and now she's 19. She's like, I am 19 years old in college. Matt holds me. Fire grows. I am 19 years old. Papa's chest explodes. He leaves me. Punishes me. I am 19 years old. Matt, I leave him when I bury Papa. So yeah, there you go. That's where he actually dies. You're right. Yeah.
Now, Mike L, do you know who this Matt is? Have you heard of this before?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
I know
No
you don't
clue.
seem to understand what's going on here, but
No clue who this is. This is Spider-Man, right?
That's the Daredevil.
I kid.
And for those who don't remember, they were both at Columbia University, and she was the daughter of the Greek ambassador, so she was all highfalutin and protected, but Matt Murdock weaseled his way in there, and then they fell in love. And then her dad got taken hostage by some terrorists on campus. And so Matt Murdock went in with just a red rag over his head to hide his identity, and he went in and tried to save him. But here, while he was beating up the terrorists, her dad made the mistake of he accidentally knocked one of the terrorists through the window, and the cops outside thought they were killing the hostages, so they opened fire, and it killed her father.
Yikes.
Yeah.
It's all that damn Daredevil's fault.
Yep. So, so then she leaves, and she goes to train with the Hand, Michael.
Yep.
It's almost like it's a really great story that you wrote here. Almost.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, yeah. So, after Stick kicks her out, she goes to train with the Hand.
Yep. So. Which is, of course, a reference to the foot from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I believe that is where Frank Miller got it. He was reading old Ninja Turtles comics.
Other way around, Michael. It was the other way around. Yeah, it was the other way around.
Okay. So,
Splinter and Stick.
Oh, speaking of turtles.
Same thing. That's right.
We might as well read everyone what we're referencing here. She's like, you are a turtle. It mocks me. You hide from your power. It whispers. It chuckles and licks me and talks of magic. I chase it away. So yeah, she's, again, flashing back and forth. We see her in the asylum. Then we see a turtle, fighting a rat. And then we cut back to the present.
Yeah, the rat is a guy in the asylum who's about to molest her. Mm-hmm. He's one of the guys that works there. And she's the turtle. Yeah, the fat, greasy guy. That's right.
Right. She's like, the rat is huge, but you have jaws. The rat is huge. And then we see the turtle biting the rat. Fat, greasy, Spanish, but I have jaws. And it's like cutting back and forth, like metaphorically between what's actually happening in the fight. And then we cut and we see his throat is all bloody and she's like, his throat is soft. My fingers cut the floor. It laughs at me. It laughs. And then we see a bunch of people grabbing her. And then she's like, and the black globe opens and I fall. And then we cut.
It's so awesome though, because the page before they show a close up of her eyes and they're real like narrowed and angry, and then we get a shot of her eyes here on this page, and one pupil's huge, the other one's real small, and it's just awesome.
Right.
And it's cutting back between Sinkovich's. I'm pretty sure I'm always pronouncing that wrong. Is it Sinkovich?
No,
Sienkiewicz.
Sienkiewicz. Like his very childish drawings and like his awesome watercolor paintings.
Right.
It just cuts back and forth, and it's really quite spectacular.
Yep. And then we cut to what the hell is happening here again?
Well, this is the hand.
This is now back
with rituals.
Right.
They trick her into killing her sensei, the one she had as a kid, who trained her as a kid. They trick her into murdering him. Yeah.
So is this all flashing back to stuff we've already seen in Daredevil then?
Pretty much.
I don't think so. I don't think they cover her killing her sensei in Daredevil.
Yeah, I don't think this was in, but the stuff with like stick and stone and all them, yeah. But like this stuff, not so much. I don't think.
And I'm pretty sure the Beast was never mentioned in Daredevil. I could be wrong on that, but I don't recall, or at least I don't recall ever seeing the Beast.
Yeah, it wasn't, but they were kind of getting together to fight some evil demon guy, right? But it wasn't like referred to as the Beast.
The Hand definitely had something they were into, but I don't know that it was ever like elaborated on.
I think this is the first appearance of the Beast. So, yeah.
I definitely could be wrong on that. It's been several years since I've read that, but
anyway, they show her going through like this ritual with the hand, and we see this beast, this big demon-looking thing, and they pour milk on her head. They're basically indoctrinating her into the hand.
They pour milk on her head?
Yeah, that's right. As you're wont to do in certain situations. And the beast. And then she has to fight some hand ninjas, I guess, to prove herself.
Right.
And look, there's a little picture of a cat. I like the cat.
So is that supposed to be her now? She's the cat, they're the wolves?
That little picture of the cat is so ridiculous.
It's awesome.
Oh, you mean like the little drawing? Yeah.
Yeah, a little like Cheshire cat smiling. Right. And she kills these ninjas, and like the chain breaks, and she just goes nuts, killing the wolves and the ninjas.
Right.
Yeah, now she's back in the asylum, Michael.
Right, and now she's got her leg's been cut, her thigh.
Yeah, we learn later that she's had this wound for a while. And I guess it's, I don't know.
And then she's like, inside something shines. One by one I pull them out. Deep red blood oozes from me, flashes in the light. The flashing parts begin to shine. The black globe screams. And then she flashes back to when she was 24 years old in South America, and she's with this guy who hires her to assassinate. Who is it again?
Just a politician down in San Concepcion.
Right, Carlos Huevos. And this is, I don't know if there's a significance to this, but she only wants to be paid $2.
that was awesome.
The $2 is spectacular.
Right. Yeah, because she says, I'll do it for money. And he's like, all right, how much you want? $2. So
yeah.
It's pretty fucking awesome. And that panel where she says it is great, too.
Yep.
Like,
and
she's off-center, and it's all shadowy. And
then we cut to this scene in like an amusement park, and we see this big fat guy riding around a merry-go-round, and she is in like, what is this thing called? I don't know what it's called, but it's one of those rides where there's like rockets, and they spin around, and they kind of rotate in the air. Whatever that is.
She has a crossbow.
And now she's doing that. Yeah, she fires her crossbow and kills him. Like, which is, showing off her skill because they're both moving, which is cool.
And again, just the art here is so awesome. Like, we get a panel of the merry-go-round, then we get an all-red panel with just the sound of an arrow, and then like the white dots are the blood, kind of a reversed image. And then the bottom panel, we see the arrow sticking into a body that's off frame, the little girl looking up at it, blood spewing out. But notice how they're all the way to the right edge of the panel.
Yep.
So we get all that orange background to like just show like, oh, it's just so good.
It's just so good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now she's at the funeral, I guess?
Yeah.
Kind of raising suspicion, possibly, right? Like, wait, who's this girl who doesn't know, who none of us know? Maybe she's the assassin.
She's not standing with them. She's standing off to them. Yeah.
And I mean, most funerals I've been to, there's always at least one mysterious figure standing off on the edge.
Underneath a tree with an umbrella. Yep.
Exactly.
Wearing sunglasses.
But while she's there, she sees this other guy, Ambassador Reich. And he's got a white eye patch. But when she sees him, she can smell the stench of the beast on him.
Yeah,
she smells
again,
the beast.
I don't know, where that's going or what that's referring to, but because I don't know this beast character, but
you just saw the beast like 3 pages before this.
But I don't know where it's going. So,
but he's like an evil demon.
Frank Miller, so don't feel
from
so
the
bad.
hand. Yeah. So then, he's an evil demon.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the present, and now she's all tied up in this bed. And she's like, the Spanish men, they tie me down. They cannot stop my mind. The beast, could he have become so human so soon? No, the priests were certain. The process requires years, a dozen more. And then she's like, and then it cuts to like the childish drawing again. She's like, that night, the same night, I go to the American embassy, seconds for the gate, seconds more. And then she's talking about going in and... Wait, what
she wants to kill Ambassador Reich.
Right. Because he's the beast.
She's kind of imagining what it would be like to kill Reich.
Mm-hmm. But she's foiled by the milk.
That damn milk.
The stench does not come from him. It comes from the milk. Now, a rush of displaced foul air, a bubbling snicker, a rasping lung, a single bass drum heartbeat. And then she throws her sigh, thunk. And then what happens? I have no idea.
The beast just beats the hell out of her. And the beast cuts her leg. That's how she gets the wound on her leg. That wasn't healing.
And then it cuts back to her in the asylum, and she's still tied down. But then it cuts back to the beast, like cutting her, beating her up, and yeah.
But the beast pours the milk on her, and she passes out. And
that'll do it every time.
But at the asylum, they're about to lobotomize her. They're gonna give her a lobotomy.
But then she manages to break free, and, Frank Miller does his thing where she's like, the straps that bind me are simple, stupid things. The man is bone and jelly. I need only to shove one into the other. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
the woman
jelly,
is a fat, fearful rabbit. I am a cobra, eggshell, skull, splinters, shaking, I'm weak. So, we basically see her, like, beating the shit out of everybody as she's breaking out. And then we see like the pile of bodies behind her, and then she gets to the window and she's like, "Leave nothing alive," as the first order, yeah. But the wind is hot and wet and ripe with spring, and I jump. And then, and then it's over.
Yeah, that's right.
So that came as a sudden shock to me, the way it ended, but that's fine.
Why?
It's called a cliffhanger, Michael.
Yeah,
she's out of the asylum, so where does she go now?
Kind of, yeah.
Spoiler alert, leaving nothing alive would have been a really good idea. But she didn't.
Yeah, she did leave someone alive.
Uh-oh.
So she left a few people alive. Because that's what the hand taught her. Never leave anyone alive. That's rule number 1. But, so
Michael, you only read the first issue of this?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to not speak about this whole run then.
Right.
Since you've only read 1 and Mike Dell's only read 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, first, I'm sure that we've all, I feel like this, like Bill Sienkiewicz, this style of, art created a whole subgenre, because do you guys remember, was it Havoc and Wolverine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, obviously different style, but also painted.
Do you remember who the artist was? I can't even remember the artist name.
I can't remember, but I can look it up.
I'll Google it. Keep talking.
Sure, but you guys remember Arkham Asylum by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean?
Obviously.
Yeah.
As has been covered before, I love Dave McKean.
Right. Very similar style, and also equally as... Well, actually, he's actually more confusing, in my opinion.
Like
great artist, but... to me, it's like when I was growing up, 13, 14, in my head, I just thought, this is what adult comics are like. Painted art, confusing stories. Nothing wrong with that, but,
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that that's the impression they left, but yeah.
Painted art, confusing stories.
I bought Havoc and Wolverine. It was fine, but I don't really remember what happened in it.
All I remember about it was the art was awesome.
Yeah, and I remember Wolverine had a slightly different hairstyle where the points in his hair
crazy.
Went really long. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Havoc and Wolverine. Are you looking it up?
I'm still trying to, but I'm not. I went to a couple erroneous links and.
I found it in 2 seconds. It's art by John Muth and Kent Williams.
Wait, say that first one again.
John J. Muth and Kent Williams.
Wow, you could have given me a list of 5 names. I never would have picked that.
Yeah. And
I own all those issues, and I love the art in them. But yeah, those names are completely foreign to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of them, but I guess they didn't do much after this. I don't know.
I have no idea. But yeah,
so I just looked though, but Arkham Asylum came out in '89, Mac-L, so you and we could make Mike Dell read another Batman comic.
Oh yeah!
For fuck's sake, no.
I would normally argue against it, but for Arkham Asylum, I might be on board.
Hey, I mean, if
you can promise me, like my knowledge of Arkham Asylum is that he gets stuck in Arkham Asylum and a lot of people beat him up. So if that happens, I'm in. Like if he gets beaten up, but.
There are a great many of his rogues gallery in that story.
Yeah, they're pretty much all in there. Yeah, I think.
As long as someone punches him for me,
he will definitely get punched in the face.
All right, well then I'll read it.
All right,
Morrison. We all love Grant Morrison.
Yeah, you mentioned the writing here, Michael, being a little confusing and whatnot, but like this is it's very literary.
Of course. Yeah, it's not.
It's pretty crazy to think, like, I know your buddy Alan Moore, you love the Alan Moore, and I think him and Frank Miller were the two guys who really changed comic book writing, right?
Yes,
in the early 80s.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's pretty nuts to think that this was being done in 86, like only a few years after, Roy Thomas was writing All-Star Squadron or something.
Well, at the same time, like go back to 86, and that was like you said, like, this is during the same time as, like, All-Star Squadron and, the Defenders and Power Man and Iron Fist, like this was,
And quite frankly, when did Secret Wars and Secret Wars 2 come out?
Oh, like 85, 86, exact same time. Yeah.
So this is the same time that Secret Wars was happening.
Right.
Jim Shooter's dialogue was going on.
Jim Shooter's epics, as I believe how we refer to them.
The
masterpieces.
Right.
The writing here is very, very, very good. It is really top shelf writing. It is good stuff, and highly impressed by what Miller did here. So I'm a big fan. Bob, how do you feel about Miller's writing here?
So I'm trying to separate issue 1 from the rest of the story. I'm not going to be able to keep my contempt here, but I didn't enjoy the whole story. But I really liked issue 1.
I will say this, Bob. I read issue 2, and it was fine. He makes some weird choices that I wouldn't have done. Issue 1, I think, is great. Let's just say
it continues. I'm going to say exponentially, because by issue 8, it's about 128 times as bad. But yeah, in this issue, it's great, and I love early Frank Miller, even to the point of. Like Mike L mentioned Sin City. I still love Sin City. It's cliche, but I love that noir style. And so, the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s Frank Miller, I love. I love his dialogue. I love his art. I'm fully into it. So, and this issue I really liked. It set up an awesome story, which may not have paid off. But set up an awesome story.
Because if you think it's just about Electra tracking down the Beast and all that, he had some other stuff to it that kind of just gets in the way, I think, right, Bob?
The story he sets up is spectacular, but then he throws in stuff that I just didn't enjoy at all.
I hear you. Because my main complaint with issue 2, not enough Electra.
Oh, well then, hold on to your butts for issue 3 through 8.
Yeah. It's like, when I want to read Elektra Assassin, I want to read about Electra assassinating people. That's what I want to read.
You're going to read a story about Brad Garrett. So, enjoy that.
That's what my feelings were after reading issue 2, which is why I stopped at issue 2. I'll probably go on and read the rest, but I took a break there. I was like,
I don't think it's actually Brad Garrett. I think there's another character named Brad, and while I was reading it, I think Brad Garrett is I don't know why I know this, but I think he was Raymond's brother-in-law.
That's right.
Well,
why do you act like you're ashamed that you know that? Brad Garrett was awesome on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Well, see, I never really watched I Love Raymond, but I know who that guy is, so I'm pretty sure his name is Brad Garrett.
That's right.
That's where it got in my head. But this character Garrett, you're going to be riding with him for the whole story.
Yeah, and see, I don't want to ride with Garrett. I want to ride with Electra.
Yeah,
I want to ride
that's
with
why
Electra.
I'm just going to go ahead and give my review of the whole story. Not very good. But this issue, we'll hold on to the end before I give that review.
Yeah, all right. So, but I think we talked a lot about the art already, but the art here is just spectacular. And because, again, Sienkiewicz does so many different styles just in this one book. He's doing at least 4, 5, 6 different styles. And even his panel designs, his panel layouts are awesome. Just everything about this is wonderful. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I kind of alluded to earlier that my thoughts on Sienkiewicz are a little mixed, because sometimes, I would say most of the time, he's awesome. Love it. But sometimes it's just real childish, and I'm like, I don't really know what I think. And it's sort of... It needs to be very specific. Like, for example, New Mutants, when he's doing like the Demon Bear stuff, it works great there. But like sometimes some of his stuff is like, this just feels childish and really not very good. Like for instance, like in this issue, when he's drawing the parents and the assassination attempt, it's like, that seems like something a 5-year-old would have drawn. And I get that it's a style, but it's not. I should say it's not bad. It's not for me.
But it's supposed to capture her childish thoughts and memories.
But he does that in other books as well, where it's like, it's not really for me. But a lot of times when he's doing this really awesome watercolor stuff, it's spectacular. And there's less of the childish stuff in the rest of the story, and it's more that just his awesome art, and it's wonderful. I don't want to speak ill of him because I really love most of his stuff, but sometimes I'm not into it. But for the most part, I really am.
But if you forget about all that other stuff you don't like in other books, the childish stuff here works.
It fits here. It does fit here. Mostly, I don't like Warlock from New Mutants, which I think is what's coloring all of this.
Right. But here it's really good.
You love robots and
I
aliens.
do love robots. Mike, what about Sienkiewicz's art here?
He's definitely one of my favorite artists. I prefer his style probably on New Mutants. But like this issue, I know what you're saying, Bob. Like some of the stuff I can forgive, like when she's on the beach in her mother's stomach, that makes sense to me because that's supposed to be a child's memory. But when she's training with Stick,
exactly.
It goes to this other style, and you're like, this is almost like bad Frank Miller, where I go, why did he choose to use this style? Why didn't he just do straightforward painted, whatever? Yeah,
the 2 or 3 pages where she's training with Stick and she's bald and blue, and it's like, what is going on here?
Right.
Well, because she's still in an insane asylum fighting to, get a hold of herself.
I get it, but I don't like it as much as the rest of the art.
And the thing is obviously we know that he can do what he wants because he's such a good artist that he can draw however abstract or however realistic he wants. It's just that it kind of makes me wish he would have done more realistic stuff or more detailed stuff. But obviously...
But see, then I think if he did it in those flashbacks, if he did more then you would lose the impact of the realistic stuff when she's in the asylum.
Yeah,
you need the contrast.
I think an argument could be made where he could do something better. I just don't think this art is very good. Like, I'm looking at the 2 specific pages with Stick, and I'm like, this art doesn't seem very good to me. This seems like something I could have done when I was 10 years old. But you turn 2 pages, and it's like, this is amazing. I could never do this.
Because he's doing it for effect, though. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. But I feel like he could do something better for effect.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. It's like even like the realistic stuff, I don't know, because he was good at this time. Again, New Mutants was around this time, and that was excellent. But I do think his art has gotten better. Like the stuff that he's doing now is like flawless in my opinion.
What's he doing now?
Well, I follow him on like Instagram and whatever, and he's always posting just like random art he does, and like he'll just do like random celebrities or he'll do random characters, and they're incredible. So yeah.
So you're not getting on social media fights with him?
No, I'm not calling him an asshole. No, I'm not.
Hey, Mike, tell him you think his art here sucks. That it's too childish.
There you go.
See what he thinks.
Well, you never know.
I want to clarify. I don't think it sucks. It's just this isn't for me, and so I get it.
Right. That's fair.
But
That's fair.
I would prefer it if it were something else. If you were writing specifically for me, which frankly, as a white adult male, I feel like mostly Frank Miller is writing for me. So I don't know why the art isn't as well.
What if Frank Miller never read about ninjas? What would his career be like?
God. What would Frank Miller do?
Because look at because that's really what revamped Daredevil, adding all the ninja stuff and Electra, and then Wolverine. He added the ninja stuff to Wolverine's background and going to Japan and everything.
And some of Sin City and Ronin. You're gonna take ninjas away from Frank Miller.
Yeah,
you're gonna leave him with almost nothing.
We need to find out who introduced him to ninjas, because that's the person responsible for most of comic book being great. It's really that person. I don't know, but. So, all right. I guess with Alan Moore, it's Woodland Fairies. And with Frank Miller, it's ninjas. So, I'll side with Miller in that one. What else about Electra, Michael? Anything else you want to say?
Well, the only thing is, while I do like this, I still prefer Born Again. Like that is still peak Frank Miller for me.
I mean, that's not fair. I prefer one of the greatest stories ever written to everything else.
Right.
But this is like a totally different thing now. It's
right.
Getting into again, it is more literary. It's more getting inside of a crazy person's mind and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah, and again, whatever criticisms I have of the art, it's certainly better than whatever issue of Power Man and Iron Fist was out that week, so.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe not.
I like Power Man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Were they still? Yeah, they were still around '86.
I think they were just on the edge of being canceled. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know who was doing the art then, but it could have been cool.
There you go.
But we can all agree it's better than whatever Superman and Green Arrow were doing.
Stop! Not Green Arrow. Come on.
Actually, no, because about '86, would this have been Green Arrow and Green Lantern?
No, that was like 72.
Oh, that was way earlier. Okay, then yeah, it's way better than what Green Arrow and Green Lantern were doing.
Who would have been doing the art then, Michael? Come on.
And on Green Arrow, it would have been probably Mike Grell around this time, maybe.
Anyway.
Did I lose it? Okay, anyway.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is. But, all right. Never. So, Bob, any other comments on the Electra?
I really like Electra. I really liked this first issue. Don't so much care for the rest of it. I think that's my takeaway from this whole story.
All right,
but Electra is awesome. The character of Electra in Frank Miller's Daredevil run is awesome.
And also, by the way, I don't know if you kids are aware of this, but there's something called cosplay. And apparently, there are women who dress up like Electra, and they post the pictures online.
Huh. I'm Googling that right now.
Yeah,
I'm sure I've seen them before, but...
I'm just going to throw this out there. I know this isn't a thing that Mike Dell would do, but if you ever went to a Comic-Con where there are other people, you could also see this in person.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though, is I've been to 1,000 comic conventions.
I'm being honest.
I don't think I've ever seen an Electra cosplay. Maybe just because not as many people know who she is anymore, but...
It's very rare. Like I said, you'll see a lot more Harley Quinn.
Right.
Everyone's Harley Quinn these days. All right, Bob. So 1 out of 10, just this issue first.
Just this issue, I'm going to give it an 8. But I think that I could give it a 9, but honestly, I've read the whole thing, so it taints it a little bit. But I'm trying to just give it this issue. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Now, what would you give the entire series?
If I'm being generous, a 5, maybe a 4.
Ooh, wow. That's bad. Ooh.
Yeah,
I really do not like the way they took this story.
Yeah, I got a sense of that. Like I said, just from issue 2, I'm like, I do not like where this is going.
You should read it just to be like, wow, I can't believe this is what they did with this.
Yeah. So, Michael, what do you give Elektra issue 1, Elektra Assassin?
I actually give it an 8 as well. Under the pretense that I don't know where the story goes. So obviously this is just setup, but I do enjoy what I see here for sure. So yeah, I'll give it an 8.
This is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is
really.
Honestly, I can see that, because if you don't know where the story goes and it's just the setup, it could feel like a 10. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm coloring it on what I know happens, but just this setup, this first issue is great.
Yeah, and I don't have the complaints about the artwork that you guys do. I love what he did here. I love every panel of what he did here. And the writing is rock solid. So this is as good as it gets. I mean, in comic books. Like, I don't know. This is really, really good. So, yeah, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. No complaints.
Yeah, just don't read the rest.
I'll just write my own next 7 issues.
There you go. Just pretend what you think is going to happen, and it's going to be great.
7 issues of Electra just murdering people and fighting the beast and in her little outfit. It'll be awesome. All right, well, there it is. Elektra Assassin issue 1.
Woo!
Big thumbs up, I guess, all around. Enjoyed it. So, Michael, this is the part of the show I dread every week. But
yeah. Well, if you want to find out what was going,
you make up that your guest chose next week.
Exactly.
I don't want to. I know you don't call back to a lot of episodes, but last week was travesty. Is that
That's right? Let's get an outsider's opinion on this. Tell him, Bob. Tell him.
What the hell was that, Michael? Cousin Brandon had never even read the comic before.
Oh, but he thought he did.
But even when he thought he did, he clearly stated that he did not choose this and chose about 7 other things before.
He chose 7, and that was one of them, and the rest
I find it hard
history.
to believe, Michael, that he said Detective Comics 600. I want to read Detective Comics issue 600.
Well, I do have the conversation saved in Twitter if you want me to copy and paste it.
So he just magically pulled number 600 out of the thin air.
Yes.
Right.
Here we go. You want me to read it to you, the exact wording?
Yes, let's read it.
Can you also slur it as if Cousin Brandon were saying it?
Well, I'm not going to go that far. This is just exact words, folks. Spider-Man was always my go-to, first and foremost, particularly Amazing Spider-Man, and got really into Uncanny X-Men and X-Factor after that. Dug Detective Comics, Moon Knight, What If, Marvel Team-Up, never a big Thor, Captain America, or Iron Man guy. And then I say, Detective Comics, you say? And he says, yeah, it was the lone DC comic I enjoyed. And then he goes...
So you ignored the Amazing Spider-Man and X-Men, 1 and 2, and you latched on to Detective Comics.
Okay, and ready for the exact words.
I want to pause real quick, because what happened is Brandon listed a bunch of comics, and then Mike L. said, Detective Comics, you say?
Yes, exactly.
That's all he heard. All he heard, Detective Comics.
And now, ready for the next part. This is exact wording, listeners. I think the first one I bought was issue 600, which came out in 89. That's his exact words, okay?
All right.
There you go. And then he goes, if you think that 3-part story is a good one, let's do it. Detective Comics would not be my first choice, but I generally don't care.
Yeah, wait a minute. Right there, he just says.
Yeah, okay, but I'm being honest.
But also, is Detective Comics 600 a 3-part story?
It's part 3, yes.
Okay. So obviously there was something from you before that where you said, oh, it's an awesome 3-part story.
Yeah, I said, well, just to have Detective 600 part 3 of a 3-part story. I'll gladly read 598 and 599 though, but it's up to you. And then that's when he said, honestly, I don't remember what any of them were about. If you think that 3-part story is a good one, let's do it. Blah, blah.
Read the next line. Read the next line.
And then he says, Detective Comics would not be my first choice, but I genuinely... But
no more questions, Your Honor.
Don't care.
No more questions.
But I genuinely
no more questions,
don't care.
Your Honor.
There you go.
I think the defense rests, or not even the prosecution rests on this one. But also, I should point out that clearly we need to get Cousin Brandon on Here Comes the Spider Cast, because I think we all want to hear everyone else just take down drunken Cousin Brandon in his Spider-Man opinions.
There's no way Brandon makes it through 3 issues, Michael. Not a
that's true, but they record earlier, so he could still be awake during the episode.
He would just get drunk earlier.
Yeah, well, also possible.
All right, Michael. So next week.
All right. So
what's the terrible
if
book
you want to know what was going on in comics in 1986, you're going to find out because we're going to read Spitfire the Troubleshooters, from the New Universe imprint. Hey, I know you like Marvel Comics. I'm doing this one for you.
I appreciate this, Michael. You're trying to do something. But this will be the second New Universe book we did, because I always think Wolfpack was New Universe, but that was not New Universe. No. That was just Wolfpack. So Spitfire, and this is the book that had like 3 titles in a 12-issue span.
Yes, then it was Codename Spitfire, then it was something else. I don't know what.
Yeah. That's a sign of quality.
Yes. Who's the creative brain trust here behind Spitfire?
Oh, let's see here. I believe we've got Jerry Conway of Spider-Man fame.
Everybody loves Jerry Conway.
Yeah, and then drawn by Herb Trimpe, who did that issue of G.I. Joe, that we did here. Herb Trimpe's awesome. What are you talking about? Anyway.
Herb Trimpe.
This is good stuff. This is more traditional superheroics we're going to be covering next week, okay?
Bob, I'm sure you don't want to be here next week, Bob.
I, for one, am excited to listen to this episode.
Yeah.
But I'm unavailable next week. I'm sorry. I got a lot of things to do. Can't really read that Spitfire issue.
Yeah, you came down with that Spitfire flu. The old Spitfire flu.
Yeah.
Michael, did you say issue 1 we're doing, I guess?
That's right.
All right.
I just sent you the link. I think I did.
Yeah, I heard something beep on my phone. So.
Yeah, that was the link. All right, I guess that wraps up another episode. Bob, thanks for joining us again.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to be here.
Woo! All right, that was number 6. We'll keep tally, but you're catching up. Anyway, so yeah, you can catch every episode of Flea Market Fantasy on Spotify, Stitcher, or the Apple Podcast thingamabob under Comic Book Syndicate. You can also follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and the Comic Book Syndicate website. Each week we read a different Bronze Age comic. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks, 1 week Cousin Brandon picks. So until next Tuesday, disperse!